In this video, which is sponsored by Hero Forge, I'm going to show you how you can take advantage of Hero Forge without giving them any money. That's right, I got Hero Forge to pay us to make a video about how you can not pay them. Now by this point, you probably know that Hero Forge has released their 2.0 build with all of their color tools, but you might not know that there's more you can do with the color tools than just build and order a color mini. Now I'm a mediocre painter at best, but I want to be a pro painter and I want a shortcut to get there. So when Hero Forge kept talking about how their coloring system is made to mimic the way that pro painters paint in real life, I thought, hey, why don't I just study their system? And then I could be a pro painter. Gonna work, right? Now, I am gonna be painting some Hero Forge minis in this video, but before we do that, I'm gonna show that you don't necessarily have to use a Hero Forge mini. But before we do that, I'm gonna roll the intro. So as promised, first let's look at how you can use Hero Forge for absolutely free to plan out your paint job for any mini you've got. Here's a mini that I've had sitting in my endless box of unpainted minis for a while. It's just off the shelf from my friendly local gaming store. I think it's supposed to be a bugbear, and it came pre-assembled and primed. Oh, wow, actually I got this quite a while ago. I don't have the box. I'm not sure which company made it, but it's got a pretty solid amount of detail. However, there's kind of these gaps where it was assembled and some spots that have some major mold lines. And I could get in there with a knife and clean that up and maybe throw some green stuff in the cracks. Then I'd have to reprime it. And so I'm probably not gonna do all that. At any rate, I don't know what colors to paint this guy. So what I'm gonna do is just pop into the Hero Forge interface and make something similar. Now obviously I'm not gonna get an exact copy, but I can approximate the features. First, looking at my species options, I feel like the Anthro Canine is going to kind of give me a lot of options there. I've got the fur, I've still got the face separate. So yeah, it should, cover all the points that I need to choose paint colors for. Now I'll put some clothes on him. Need some pauldrons, some chest armor with different sections that could be kind of painted different colors. He's got kind of a pants and loincloth combination going on. So I guess it goes, actually here, the Lucathor armor looks pretty good because it's got the shin guards too. Mine look like they're probably supposed to be wood, but we can mess around with that in a second. In terms of getting the items the same, I've got basically a cleaver in the one hand and a knife on the other hip. Now I can really easily just pop into their pre-made color schemes. You've got the body colors, which are gonna look a little bit different depending on the species you've chosen. Obviously they're gonna kind of give you a different setup for people with skin than they are for people with fur. But I like this one. I think it looks real good. Kind of go with sort of that brown fur. And then if we pop into theme, we can just pick out something that looks pretty good. I feel like this guy's part of a goblinoid tribe that's got kind of an earthy feel to it, but they've got some resources, so they've got some pretty nice armor. And overall, I like this setup. Now I can go in here and adjust individual paints if I need to, or choose different colors for different spots. But if you don't want to spend that much time thinking about the details and you just kind of want to see what colors are going to go together, there we go. Again, not the same mini, not even close, but as far as choosing what colors to use and how much to spread them out and approximately where to put them, I'm all set. Now I could paint up this guy, but I do have a Hero Forge mini that I want to paint because I printed it off for somebody that I met on the internet. Quick story. So Hero Forge has this Facebook group called the Hero Forge Creators Guild, and somebody in that group, a guy named Renee, he said he was thinking about getting a 3D printer and wanted to know if anybody who had a 3D printer could print off his mini on there so he could get a look at what the quality was like and maybe compare some. So I said, sure, yeah, I can go ahead and print that off for you. But then after I printed it, I was like, hey, I'm gonna be making this video about the colors and painting and stuff. Can I use your mini in that video? And he was like, yeah, awesome. He also asked if he could buy the painted mini off me when I was done. I made it clear that I'm not a professional painter and he might want to see what it looked like before he offered to pay money for it. However, I'll send him a painted mini anyways, just as like a thank you. So Renee, there's gonna be a few of them in this video. Let me know which one you like best and I'll send you that one. So to really be able to tell if I was becoming a better painter through using Hero Forge, I figured I needed to set a baseline. Now I'd kind of seen in the Facebook post that Renee put up what he wanted for the color scheme. I knew that it was basically like a red and black situation with just like standard plate mail silver on most of the metal pieces. So I decided to just first go at it with my gut and just paint it up however I think it would look nice. All in all, I think it came out pretty good. Again, I'm not a super skilled and practiced painter, so pretty good is a success for me. It's a job well done. It's a mini well painted, but it could definitely be better. So I printed off another one and I had Renee send me the share link to actually look at the model as he had painted it up. So now looking at the model as he actually wanted it painted, I can see a few things. One, I added brown where he had never intended that to be, but also I was able to see in greater detail all of the little pieces and components of the model. Now I get pretty good results from my printer and I get pretty good detail in the minis I print. However, minis are really small. And especially if I put on the primer a little too thick, as I kind of did with that first one, some of the minute details can be difficult to see and difficult to hit with the brush. So seeing them on the website render of the mini really helps to make sure you don't forget anything, like this ring. But the other thing you can do is look at the colors that each paint is made up of. For example, look at the orange fire on the little campfire base item. The way they create that effect of it kind of glowing is by doing a bright low lights, a little bit darker mid, and then returning to that bright fiery orange for the highlights. On the one I painted, just going from my gut, I went from darker of a red up to the light yellow. And it really doesn't give that feel of glowing like I'd hoped to get, you know, based on looking at the model here. Now I've watched a fair number of painting tutorials on YouTube and I've seen people do this wet blending technique before. So I thought I'd give it a go, even though this would kind of be the first time I'm trying it. So for mini number 2, I tried using that wet blending technique on the fire to try to get that real glowing effect, but it kind of didn't work. I wasn't thrilled about it. I noticed it was sort of darker than intended. All the paint kept running into the crevices there. So in time to make the lowlights brighter, I did like an almost white wash with a little bit of yellowish, but this just kind of made the whole thing look faded and really gave the opposite of the effect I was going for. I was going for bright and glowing, and this was just kind of milky and muted even after I added more colors over it. I had sort of the same experience doing like the white parts of the clothes. The result I got is that it looks like he's wearing a khaki bodysuit and feel like I kind of screwed up the face real bad altogether. And a lot of the rest of the mini I just ended up doing standard anyways, by which I mean doing a base coat and washes and then a dry brush. And again, I feel like it came out pretty good. And at least this time I got all the colors that Renee intended in the proper places, but I still felt like I was missing something. I think the issue that I was running into was that ultimately the low lights weren't ending up as the color I put down there. They were ending up as whatever color I put down there plus the wash. And while I had realized this from the beginning, I had overestimated my ability to predict what that end color was going to look like. I also feel like I kind of did things the hard way, especially when it comes to the black parts and the armor, especially this chainmail here. I primed the first mini with white because it was all I had around at the time, but I realized going into the second mini that since so much of it was black, I should probably prime it in black. And since I was doing that, I probably shouldn't be messing around this much with the parts that were just supposed to be black. And that is when I had my first epiphany. Not everything needs a wash. I know, right? I feel like that's the first thing you learn when you start painting minis is it always looks better with a wash. I often have the experience, like with the first mini I did for this video, where I'm basing it in and I feel like it just looks sloppy. My brush control isn't that great. Throwing that wash or toner or quick shade or whatever you're using really just crisps up the seams and also instantly creates those gradients to sort of darken the low sunk shadow spots. After that, just a little bit of highlighting creates that depth that you're really looking for. But it always means that those deep spots are going to be the addition of two colors that you're putting on and controlling exactly what color that is a little bit harder, especially if you want it to be a lighter color, like with this fire situation. I figured if I could get better at blending the various layers together, I could come about those shade gradients in a much more organic manner and really open up my options for the low light colors. So I decided to give it one more try, which is something you can just do when you have your own 3D printer. And that's really why it's so great to just be able to buy the Hero Forge STLs when you, damn it, here I am shilling in the Hero Forge video again. But since I am, Hero Forge wants you to know that they're having their Black Friday sale now through November 30th. You can get $5 off all your physical printed minis using the code EPICLOOT at checkout, and you can get those downloadable STLs for only $3.99 a piece. No code required, which is like half the normal price. They should probably just hire me full time, right? Doesn't even have to be making videos. I can do other stuff. I could do like, but anyways, I was talking about painting the same exact mini for a third time. So I decided to dive into the color tools again and really analyze what was going on with those paints so that I could hopefully get a better result with my wet blending and not rely on those washes for my shading. But because there's so many kinds of red and so many kinds of white and so many kinds of black, I wanted to make sure that I was looking at the right color for the right part. And to do that in Hero Forge, you can hold on your Alt or Option key and hover over that part on the mini, and it'll show you what paint's being used for that part. You can also do the reverse if you want to see what other parts of the mini are using that same paint by holding down your Alt or Option if you're on a Mac and hovering over that paint. It'll make those parts of the mini light up. So since I knew I'd be using wetter paints, I decided to finally pick up a proper wet palette from my friendly local gaming store and also get some fiery orange paint while I was there, because apparently I'm not too good at mixing colors either. And then I watered down my paints a bit more than I usually do, excepting that I probably need more than my usual 2 to 3 layers of base color. I started again with the fire because I felt like this was really, where I was investing in trying to learn something new. I tried to really take my time while also not letting the layers dry too much to try to get that light, dark, light gradient going. And I have to say the result wasn't bad, but I still wasn't totally satisfied. So I stepped away from it before getting too frustrated, and I did what I should have done from the very beginning. I turned to YouTube. I remembered seeing a video about layering colors, and I was pretty sure that I remembered where I saw it. Sure enough, right on the Hero Forge YouTube page. There, number 2 in the Painting Academy playlist was the layering video by Dr. Faust. Faust? Dr. Faust? Dr. Faust? Damn. Guys, do you see how good I am at cross-linking content? So as I watched this video for the second time, I had my second epiphany in this adventure. This was what they meant by painting like professional painters do. This is different than wet blending. You apply many, many, many very thin layers. The layers are so thin that a single one is almost imperceptible to the naked eye. But when you stack enough of them up, you get a totally opaque layer. So by laying down a slightly thicker low light color on all the deep spots, then by very slowly building up these super thin layers of your other colors and slightly decreasing the area that you're covering with each layer, you can create these natural gradients. It makes it so that the color change is very gradual and smooth and beautiful. And that's what I want to be able to do. So the first thing I had to do was water my paints down even further. Dr. Faust suggests starting with around a 3:1 water to paint ratio, and then when you're really good at it, going up to like a 5:1. And all this time I had been considering a 3:1 ratio to be pretty wet. So if I was gonna get good, I was gonna have to learn some patience, but not too much patience. I decided to start with about a 4:1 ratio and really focus in on one spot, specifically the shield. The rendering on the site kind of has it evenly lit from the back, but I thought it would look even cooler if I did sort of a off-centered lighting more towards the top. It was also a relatively large, even surface on this mini, so I thought it would be good practice. I ended up spending an hour on that shield, slowly building it up from black to red, slightly highlighted with a touch of orange at the end. I did lay it on a bit too thick in the beginning, and it was taking too long to dry, but with time, I started to feel like I was getting the hang of it. There was also another video that he had specifically about doing this with black, but as soon as I started on the cape, I knew that I was out of my league. I didn't want to end up painting this mini 5 times, so I decided to go back to classic mode for that. And I think that worked fine. Again, I'm not patient, but I think I get a little better each time. Get good. The white parts got kind of weird. A lot of the white parts are in hard to reach spots. I don't think Renee has seen my video about designing your minis to be easier to paint. I also don't think he'd necessarily care since he's not the one painting it. The chainmail, however, I just dry brushed it with a little bit of silver metallic paint. And I didn't have to mess around with a wash to get in and darken those recesses. I just needed to lighten up the high spots. I was able to see that this red leather color is really just black with the red on top. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Base red, black wash, retouch with base red. Also, the sword looked pretty good in those previous models, so I didn't see any real need to change the way I was doing that. To be honest, I did end up using washes on most of the minis still, and I got pretty lazy on the face. But I think I was just tired after spending an hour on one part of the shield. It did come out pretty good though, especially having never tried painting in quite this way before. Now, Dr. Faust had warned me in his video that this was a difficult painting style to master, and of course, he was right. Now, you can also abuse these layers in the Hero Forge system to create rainbows and stuff, but I don't know, maybe I'll make a separate video on that at some point. So the question is, in the end, did Hero Forge make me a professional painter? No, obviously not. Even though having the painting guide and being able to see the breakdown of the colors and the different layers of the paint job definitely made it easier. Like with most things, the only way I'm gonna become a painting master is through patience and practice. Luckily, I have no shortage of great Hero Forge minis to paint. I am always on brand. That is the end of the video.